Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to take a look at and review the Bleak host Spearhead for Warhammer Age of Sigmar for the Maggotkin of Nurgle. Today's game is played on the fantastic battle mats from our longtime supporters Mithras Games. Top quality battle mats from New Zealand that have a variety of different designs that can suit almost any battlefield you could imagine. Our formation with this Spearhead has our general as a Spoilpox Scrivener. For unit wise we then have 2 units of 1 Pascal Blightlord, a unit of 5 Putrid Blight Kings and 2 units of 5 Plague Bearers. Battle trait wise we have the Infectious Host. One of your Pascal Blightlords and your Plague Bearer units are not set up during the deployment phase. Instead, from the 3rd battle round onwards, they can use the following ability. This is done during demonic summoning, and the effect is you can set this unit up anywhere on the battlefield more than 6 inches from all enemy units. This does have the core ability, so this will allow you to do this on multiple units on the same turn. We then have the passive diseased rule, which the effect is each time an attack made by a friendly model scores a critical hit, you receive 1 disease point to a maximum of 7. And lastly, at the end of any turn, we have Nurgle's Embrace, where we can spend any number of the disease points we've accrued during the game, and for each disease point you spend, you pick an enemy unit that is in combat with any of your units, and on a dice roll of 4+, inflict 1 mortal damage on that unit. You can pick the same enemy unit more than once, so you could potentially roll 7 dice against the 1 unit if you do manage to get them all. A nice little way to get some extra damage, and also keeping some of your units in reserve till later is not a bad thing in Spearhead, as it means your opponent has to always worry about those units coming on later in the game. Regiment ability wise, as always, we've got 2 to pick from, and the first of these is Locus of Fecundity. This is once per phase during your hero phase, and you can pick a friendly unit and heal D3 that unit. Pretty simple there. The other one is a passive ability called Infested with Wonders. Each time a friendly model is slain before it's removed from play, you can pick an enemy unit within 1 inch and roll a dice. On a 4+, inflict 1 mortal damage on that unit. I really don't mind that. Both of these are pretty solid depending on what we've got in the force. We do have some really high wound models in the force, things like our Pascal Blightlords and the Pascal Blight Kings as well, and even our Spoilpox Scrivener can make use of the heal. But Infested with Wonders is nice. We do have some units that are going to go down. For me though, I do think the healing is probably the way to go, because you do have a lot of models that are going to get the most out of that. And so, moving on to enhancements, we've got one of these to give to our general, and it is worth noting that our general is much more of a support character, so trying to keep them out of combat is probably a good idea when looking at these enhancements. The first of the options is Summoner of Plague Bearers. Now we can pick a friendly Plague Bearers unit, hold within 14 inches of your general at the end of any turn, and return 1 slain model to it. It's pretty cool because Plague Bearers are 2 wounds each, so it's a little bit of decent recursion. We then have Gardener of Nurgle. This can be used during the movement phase. If your general is contesting an objective not contested by any enemy models, you roll a die. On a 3+, that objective is considered to be desecrated, and friendly units will have Ward 4+, while on a desecrated objective, but if your opponent gains control of it, it's no longer desecrated. Shooting phase ability for Pestilent Breath. This just allows us to do some mortal damage with shooting. It's not too shabby. And Gift of Febrile Frenzy. This is a once per battle any combat phase. Until the end of the phase you can add 1 to the attack characteristic used by friendly units with a wholly within 7 inches of your general. It is 1 use only, but it is a really nice one. I think we've got some decent abilities here. Gardener of Nurgle is really nice. Your general is required to get on those objectives though. That's probably the downside of that for me. I do like Summoner of Plague Bearers. It's a decent range. Your general's not going to have to be right up in it. For me though, I do think the once per battle Gift of Febrile Frenzy can really swing a battle in your favour, and is probably my pick. On to our first unit though, and this is our general, the Spoilpox Scrivener. 5 health, a 4-inch move, 5+ save, control score of 2. Now, that might not sound like an awful much when you consider it save wise, but every Nurgle model does have a ward of 5+. The model also does have the Disgusting Sneezes, which is a short range shooting attack, and its standard more as well is 3 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 1, damage 2, pretty standard for like supporty characters. Keep Counting, I Am Watching You though is where you can pick a friendly Plague Bearer unit within 14 inch to be the target, and you can pick one of the following and the effect will last until the start of your next turn. You can either add one to their attacks or add one to save rolls, giving them, you know, a nice decent buff in however you sort of need them to play. Do you need them more offensive, do you need them more defensive? Next we have the Pascal Blightlords. Now we have 2 units of one of these. They're pretty solid with 8 health each, an 8 inch move, 4+ save, and control score of 2. They're armed with Blighted Scythes, so these are 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 2, damage 1, and they've got an extra 6 attacks and no rend damage 1 with the companion ability from the Rock Flyers, Mouthparts and Sting. Rack and Ruin is their main ability though, and if this unit charged in this phase, you can pick an enemy unit within 1 inch and inflict some mortal damage onto them. They've got Fly and the Cavalry keywords, and like all Nurgle, the 5-up ward there as well. And so next we have the Putrid Black Kings. These are essentially on-foot versions of your Pascal Blightlords, 3 health each, a 4 inch move, 3+ save, which is decent when you combine it with that 5-up ward, and a control score of 1. They've got 4 attacks each, 3s and 3s to hit and wound with rend 1, damage 1. Relentless Attackers is an ability used at the end of any turn. You pick an enemy infantry unit in combat with this unit to be the target and roll a dice for each model in this unit that is within combat range of the target unit. For each roll that exceeds the target's health, you can inflict them mortal damage. Now we then have them also having the infantry keyword. They're just, you know, an all-round fairly solid unit for the force, able to really do some damage and also act as a great anvil as well. Lastly, we have our Plague Bearers, 2 health each, as I've mentioned earlier, a 4 inch move, 6+ save, but that 5-up ward there as well. They only have 1 attack in combat, but it does have the crit mortal ability, so chances are, you know, you might get through a couple of mortals. But the Cloud of Flies is a passive ability, and this means they are -1 to hit for all shooting attacks that target them, making them pretty resilient to long range damage when you consider they've got that ward and stuff there as well. We hope this video was helpful in getting you started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar Spearhead, and that it was able to give you some ideas and inspiration to start your own force in the game. If you have any other questions at all, please comment them down below. And while you're there, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and join our Discord server to check out all of our future Warhammer Age of Sigmar content.